Happy Memorial Day, Americans, and your fallen troops. This is a big day to celebrate 1945, the transition for we the people on the world stage and really take over human rights. It's a big day for Americans. It's been that way for Canadians who don't know. This Monday has been that way since after the Civil War, always as a reminder for Americans what their military gives their lives for. So a big day indeed, and much, much different than our Remembrance Day. And I think Canadians don't realize that the major shift for Americans from what Canada would celebrate and continue to celebrate and holds dear. Which gets us into this video. It's updates for Canada, the 51st state for everybody. And folks, a lot has happened the last 2 weeks, but just this week, this weekend. And I know tariffs with the EU, but more than that, like clockwork, and I waited for it. I know I told you all I was going to roll that out, and I talked about, at least at the Twitter space, about Trump's trap. And the Trump administration has made many traps for Canada and Canadian politicians, and sadly a lot of Canadians are falling into them. I do speak out when it's 51st staters or those who support narratives and they get involved in that, and they think that somehow they're on the right side of things when really they're not. And they're not reading America the right way. They're not reading Trump, the Trump administration. And I'm going to go through several of those. And I've made some key predictions here that, like clockwork, I've waited and we've hit those markers. And now your Canadian mainstream media is backing up what I told you. Here we are in May. So that was April, March, February, January, December. Over 5 months, actually, it's quite a bit. We're at the end of May. We're over 5 months when you go to December 2nd since some of these things I initially released. And it was earlier than mid-December I hit critical things about what was on the Republican platform in replacing Canada. And I've gone into tremendous detail. I pulled early on executive orders saying, hey, hello, Canada, wake up. Now, Mark Carney, elbows up, and his big W, he was going elbows up in his stupid tee or sweater, red libtard sweater, down with Webster. Completely flip-flopping upon election. Pierre Poilievre, same elbows up, same big mouth, big talker. Well, now they're boyfriend and girlfriend, literally. And before conservative folks get mad, please go research for yourself. Your media, Pierre Poilievre's own words, his social media, the things he's done, now that he's out of Parliament, and him outside of Parliament telling everybody, well, we're going to work with the Liberals and we don't want a war with America now. It's like, scratch your head. Okay, so now it's elbows down, now that the election's over. Elbows down. You fired up Canadians. You had them booing Americans at all sporting events in the national anthem, building up a real hatred for Canada. Well, the damage is done. And there's a reason why I did Canada the 51st state, why I quickly transitioned into that December 2nd, because there was no other way. The economic destruction was clear to me. Trump made that much later on in January, said it's going to be economic. He told all media that. But even in December, when you read the Republican platform already published for the election 6 months prior, Trump wins it. Wasn't hard for me to transition. Okay, natural gas. Okay, we're losing 25% of our market share at the United States of America. I was called a kook, a loser, everything else. Down with that guy in the 51st. What's he talking about, well, now all Canadians, all 51st staters, officially today, elbows down Mark Carney, elbows down Pierre Poilievre, and the entire industries in all of our natural gas, our LNG, are saying we have to now transition away from America because they're cutting us out of 25% of our current market share with them, which is a ginormous amount. Natural gas remains low. Why? Go look at the executive orders I rolled through a month ago. I went through the platform 5 months ago of the Republicans, how they were going off of this stuff. They're going back to coal, the coal deals where they can easily draw synthetic high-grade natural gas out of, make synthetic LNG, and do tremendously better than they ever would have to worry about with Canada. And at a much cheaper rate, they can cut out other products, which your industries now today, multiple media sources are admitting. It's like, okay, so I was a loser. I was all these things. I was told I was, a confused Canadian. But now everybody's saying what I said 5 months ago. Now that's mainstream. Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre are like, yep, we're going to team up. We're going to make good deals with America, but we got to realize they're cutting us out of these sectors. No tariffs haven't gone away. What's gone away, all Canadians, all of you, doesn't matter which province. What's gone away is your market share in key areas you've always had with the United States are bye-bye now. And officially now, no doubt, the Energy Commission, the Canadian Energy Producers Association have all jointly press released it that by the fall of 2026, right what I told you all now 5 months ago, there goes all of that share of the USA. That is getting reduced. All of it. America is moving away from Canada. Not Canada moving away from America. It's Canada kicked out on their ass. And now Canada's got to scramble, hoping to find new customers. Now, of course, there's always China. TMX, that's China. Last month, all of your major crude oil, USA, gone down huge. Lost huge market share. We're not nowhere near what capacity we were with that just 3 months ago. We're half that. And that half all goes to China now. Yeah, we're totally against USA. That half goes to China. What's going to happen with these other pipelines? Do you think they're going to become important for USA as they're transitioning in to their own sovereignty? I wouldn't bet on it. People believing what they want to believe, being told by the crown, who could care too less about you. They just want to win an election. Now that the election's over, they're both buddy-buddy, bum buddies is the term I would use. Some would say that's hate speech, but the shoe fits for those two. Compulsive liars, can't even tell you the truth. And now the election's over, they're both saying today, oh no, we're going to work on these things, we're going to transition. European Union slapped by the United States, 50% tariffs. Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, working together, are going to move so fast towards European Union. We're going to make deals, we're going to get this, we're going to do that. LNG, oil and gas, precious metals, minerals, everything, we're going to do it. That's Trump's trap. Trump's trap. Go do it, and just like Chinese going to roll out a deal with the European Union, and then it catches Canada with its pants down. Canada's the last to get a deal because the current USMCA that Trump has told you a month ago is never going to be renewed. It's finished. Trump told you that. People don't want to hear. Our ambassador to Canada at the B7 summit told everybody that. Canada's CPAC, Canada's media cut all of that portion of the interview with the question answer out. So no Canadian hears that. But when you read and watch American news on it, you get the whole works. And of course, that's answered one of the questions. No, USMCA is finished. It served its purpose. It's done. But it's still in place for a whole year. So Canada's going to run around trying to take from USA share from all of these, just like they did China. And then they found themselves cut out of USA, and then USA cutting Canada out of USA China. And you will watch like clockwork the same trap happen to Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre. Our economy is going down like this. No, tariffs have not been neutralized. Tariffs haven't even really been reduced by Mark Carney. That was all propaganda, media lies by both, lots of conservatives actually. And that's the problem with Canadians. You believe your crown. You're better off following Americans, but sticking to Americans in the Webster terminology, watching what they do, and knowing what they're being straight shooters about and when they're being a trap setter. And I mean, it's fair game, right? If you're an American, put yourself in their shoes. Like RFK, people were hitting me with that, and I'm not going to get too much into the ostriches, but honestly, the man is an expert in southern animals, reptiles, snakes, all of that, right? He's a hunter, conservationist, all the same things I have, but southern states. So he talks about the ostriches, sends a letter to the Canadian government saying, don't call them, we can study them, blah, blah. If he was really serious about it, Canadians, in his health portfolio, why wouldn't RFK want to buy the birds and bring them to America? Petition Congress, because they got the purse, right? He doesn't have the power under the executive. It's not his constitutional power. He doesn't have authority. He can write the letter to Canadian politics, but all he's doing is playing a game where he knows where the end is. It's another trap, a division for the Canadian government. It helps along the narrative, crushing Canada, more division. Doesn't mean he's serious. A lot of people are like, but RFK said. RFK is part of the executive under Donald J. Trump for America first, for America. Anything they do with Canada is not for Canada's benefit, but for their benefit. And I get it. I understand it. They don't hate us, but they're competing against us. And they're setting all kinds of traps for your crown. And it's sad when Canadians fall into that. I'll always fill in 51st staters. I'll always share these truths with you. But just because you think something's released by Americans, and you think somehow they're trying to show you some light, it's for their narrative, and it's against our government. And they've set lots of traps, lots. The EU 50% tariffs to move EU with the USA, and to also cut Canada out. Canada's never had an economic agreement with the EU. Any politician telling you that is a liar. We failed on CERN, which is Canada European Union trade agreement. That has failed over and over and over. There's been so many tried. And why? Because we're not in Europe. Europe always votes us out. 28 countries, one always has a problem with Canada, whether it's agriculture, what have you. Canada has a lot of things to offer, but it cuts others out in the European Union, and then they turn around and veto us. France was the last veto. And Canadians don't want to wake up to that, but you'll watch, or your politicians, in their delusion of grandeur, they're going to reach out and do that. Now, Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, are bringing King Charles. There's a huge amount of publications telling Canadians that this is the greatest thing ever. It's going to back Trump off because he loves the crown. He loves the royal family. Geez, he would love to be a king, right? Of course, it's left media. It's your Canadian crown bullshit media. Anyone believing that is an idiot. No American would ever believe that. Trump has never ever said anything remotely like that. He sets traps. He plays games. He gets Canadian corruption, the WEF world, together because that's what they are. It's like this. How can I explain it? It's like when you know somebody's mentally ill in a certain way. Like, here's an example. Because some guy cheats, compulsive cheater, they have a sex problem, they're not monogamous, and they're out fucking around, excuse my language, on their wife, and they go out and they do that, but then they come home and then they're always like, where are you? And they're calling her all the time and he's all on her. And everybody can see that guy. Like if you're at work and you're like, and he'll even treat you like that if you're around his wife. Like, what are you looking at her? And he acts like something's going on. It's because that's his mentality, his thinking. But you recognize it. You recognize that they think everyone thinks like them. But everybody who doesn't think like them sees it for what it is. This is your crown in Canada. The Republicans certainly see Canada's perverse crown for what it is, know what it's going to do before it's going to do it, and they set it up. Trump is brilliant at this. He's teaching the rest of his insiders to do this. We saw it with the ambassador. We're seeing it with RFK, and you'll see it with more and more and more. Some things you can research are credible. Others you go, well, that makes no sense because that's not constitutional. And then, oh, I get it. They're setting up a trap. Our crown won't see it that way. And a lot of Canadians won't see it that way. And the crown thinks that, oh, great, Charles coming here and they're trying to sell this to Canadians that if we show them that we're still, that's our head of state and we're still in the British Empire and blah, blah, blah. When 10 years ago that wasn't even a realm of normalcy. The Queen Elizabeth hasn't done a throne speech, hasn't been here for any of that since 79 because 1982 we had our amendment. Not supposed to happen. You're not telling America you're independent. You're telling America you're completely dependent. And Canadians can't see that. The Crown doesn't see that. They think that they're manipulating Trump and that Trump's going to fall for that or the Republicans fall for that. They don't. They see your silly ass government for what it is. And sadly, they see Canadian silly asses for what they are. And then they really twist the pipe around you, right? And Canadians don't see that. A lot of us do. A lot of us who research see this, and I know a lot of followers do, but not everybody. But it's important to see that. It's important to look at all these things. Another one Trump does, this is another pitfall. So everybody, he just released this today along with his memorial. He gets into Vladimir Putin again. This is leading up to G7. Another pitfall. 51st staters, don't fall for this. I know a lot won't. A lot of you won't, but some of the newer ones are. And I'm going to try going forward to be a little more patient with people. But here's one for Vladimir Putin. He went for his 4 oblasts of Ukraine. They have done that in the State Duma, their Congress, Senate, okay? A lot like the U.S. Congress, Congress, which is House and Senate. A lot the same way, same kind of powers. And they've already passed the 4 oblasts, not all of Ukraine. The only negotiation, everybody, that Vladimir Putin would entertain if Donald J. Trump was down for it, and just so everybody knows, Donald J. Trump knows. Guess who thinks another way? But we'll get into that in a second. The only thing that's possible for Vladimir Putin, possible, contrary to what Trump says in his Truth Social post just 17 hours ago, he can't negotiate from any other thing than those 4 new oblasts entirely as their original borders, which Russia doesn't even have yet. They've got somewhere in the neighborhood of almost all 99 and 2 of them, but 2 others, it's like 80 and 76%. They still got to push more, and that's right in the middle. And Vladimir Putin has a same style, the State Duma. He's got a Congress and Senate that's already said, nope, all four of those in these lines. Vladimir Putin, just like Trump knows himself. Trump knows this. Melania would have explained it to him. Trust me, most Americans in high academia know this, and so does the Republican themselves. All of them, that administration. And then we get into Rubio and the rest of it. They know absolutely this fact. But they say these facts going into a G7 where Canada's going, we got to fight for Ukraine and fight on these fronts in these areas. Trump's leading them to the cliff. And that's all I'm going to say. So I know people get raggy on me when I bring stuff up. I don't like to tip too many hats and hands. It's because it hurts America too. It does hurt the Trump administration when they're playing these things. But you gotta, people sometimes trust things, trust the plan and let it play out. And you can wait for it, but you're going to see what I'm saying here to be absolutely truthful. And you're going to see how Canada continually falls on its ass over and over and over again. Old King Carney, and you know what? Wannabe Pierre Puny Polyev, right? Puny Crown. Doesn't even have official opposition. He's lost his mansion. He's out on the street. He's got to deal with Carney, right? To get back in, get a by-election, to get his mansion back and his little puny crown, his opposition crown. But these two lowlifes, all they care about is crown. None of you, doesn't matter what you affiliate with across your left, right spectrums, because they just want you up here at the top of their pyramid where all you're the slaves at the bottom. They don't care how you got there. Take the blue rope or the red rope, but that's how it works, and you're still a slave, whichever left spectrum in Canada. This isn't the same in the United States. It's the Superman. It's an upside-down pyramid where the government's down here and the people are up here, and they start at the executive level. It's not possible in Canada for that. So I've given you 4 items in this, 4 items that really update 51st State. It's all traps and trip-ups for Canada. I was going through another set of things, on this Memorial Day. I don't want to get into too much here, but a guy at work and Canada's involvement in certain conflict zones. All I can say is come G7 and what comes of that and what little pitfalls Trump has put in place that I can see in the Webster's narrative and what the Americans are doing. I see those pitfalls coming. This is just me saying there's a lot to roll out. But remember, this is all for economic reality of Canada, Canada's fallout, Canada tripping and falling on its face, because Canada is very predictable. When you know someone's mentally ill, if you're an American, and you know this guy or these group of people has this sickness, and you know if you just throw out the traps, like little birdies, they can't help themselves, the compulsion, right? Like a sex addict or whatever you want to call it, right? If I put it out there, that idiot's going to go for it. Snap, got him in a trap. And I can tell you all this, Trump and his administration, they've worked out several traps that Canada's going to be falling into over the next 2 months. And G7's a big one, a real big one. So hold on, let it come, just like I just proved. After 5 months, nobody can take that away from me. I hit that, hammered that. That market share's gone. Alberta, BC, gone. You've been all lied to, and it's backed up now in Canadian media. Canadian media that was led by Mark Carney just a few months ago as he took over the party, and then they called the election, right? But these people, they don't know what they're talking about. Really? Or they're confused. Well, really? I've nailed that you've lost that market share. Now you're admitting it to Canadians 5 months later. This is both Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney, who just 3 weeks ago were elbows up and were telling you all these wonderful things that they were going to do. and now are incapable of doing. It's gone market share. And for those conservative folks, what's really important here, remember it was those conservatives. I hate the liberals. Always have, always will. I don't have to go there because I know they lie. They present their crap, but at least they stick to their lies. It's one thing for the conservatives to be lying and then profess something's true for a narrative, when really that's not the narrative at all. That's a real backstabber, okay? And they're caught with that. The governing officials are caught with that. And for conservative folks, if you don't see this now and you're following me, come on. Working with the liberals going forward, elbows down, everything they were blabbing about just 3 weeks ago, out the window. Now they're going in a whole new direction, both of them. They're admitting that they've lost all of these things. It was liberals. I watched it. Andrew Scheer videos, Pierre Poilievre videos, and more. Conservative MPs telling you that, oh, they lied, they rigged the election, and they lied about this, and they knew that the tariffs were off. The tariffs were not off. The tariffs are still in place. It was market share lost, which means not only the conservatives lied, and of course the liberals lied, but the conservatives lied. And then now they come into the lie and make up a new lie to cover that lie and not address the first lie. And I'm just myth-busting all of it, that what I said 5 months ago is officially true today. And your tariffs are not off. Neither are the Carney tariffs. You've lost market share for the rest of Canada's existence for ever and a day. Who knows how long that could really be. It's gone. And by 2026, Alberta, BC, when it comes to the United States of America, 25% of that natural gas system you've always enjoyed is gone forever. At minimum, they're admitting that today. Go look at it. I called all this out. 20 to 25%. It's nailed in multiple videos, multiple slideshows, going all the way back to December 2nd. Nailed it. You haven't seen nothing yet. I warned you about April 15th, 2026, the spring, where we may see Americans make a choice that will never entertain Canadians ever again. Come tax time. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Congress and Senate. That's my video. God bless everybody. Share, share, share. Get this out there. People need to know. And it's reality. Reality that came to be. And all of you loyal followers, it's undeniable. If you've been with me at least 5 months, most have been longer, but it's true. All hammered home today. Bye now.